We now welcome in ESPN senior writer Kevin Pelton to talk about this NBA trade deadline with us. It's happening in 2 weeks. So what we want to know, everyone loves a big name, a big splashy trade, right? So is there a big name that you could see potentially being traded, and where to?
I don't think it's going to be Bradley Beal at this point. So if you look at one player who could really swing the championship race, I think it's Kyle Lowry in Toronto. The Raptors don't have to make a move. They've got the easiest schedule in the second half of the season, according to BPI. So I think they're going to safely avoid that play-in tournament in the East. But at the same time, this doesn't look like a deep playoff run for the Raptors. And with a guy at his age, in the last year of his contract, I think you have to consider a move. You can get multiple first-round picks, some of those and young talent. And even though he's the best player in Raptors history. So I think if he does get moved, Philadelphia to me is the logical destination. Daryl Morey traded for Lowry in Houston, then sent him to Toronto, got one of the picks that turned into James Harden in that deal subsequently. And he would be a great fit there, providing some late-game offense that Ben Simmons doesn't usually provide, and providing them a lot of playoff experience. So if that does happen, you just mentioned Aldridge. Watch out if Toronto gets expiring contracts back for Kyle Lowry. Maybe they get in on Aldridge or Andre Drummond with those players.
I really like that theory. I mean, I would have liked Bradley Beal out of Washington more, but I
mean, you know me. I only care about Bradley Beal, but that all of a sudden just got my attention.
Insane amount of sense, but it's too much sense, in fact. So, Kevin, give me something that is outside of the rumor mill. We ain't really heard about it. Nobody's thinking about it. Who's going to make that splash trade happen come deadline day?
I mean, this is not one I think is necessarily going to happen, but I do think it's logical, is what if we reunited the Ball brothers in Charlotte? Ooh. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's dangerous. LeVar Ball might think he runs the team, and they signed LiAngelo. But I do think it makes basketball sense. This trade I'm proposing here, the Hornets are kind of selling high on Terry Rozier, who's playing the best basketball of his career right now, but he's several years older than Lonzo. And I think they could use Lonzo's size because this is a team that's switching more than any other team in the league right now and playing more zone defense than any team on record, according to Second Spectrum tracking. So Lonzo's size is a better fit with that than Terry Rozier is kind of undersized as a shooting guard. And then on the other side, New Orleans could use Rozier's shooting around Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram, and they also get more cost certainty in this deal because Lonzo is going to be a restricted free agent this offseason, and someone could come in with a big offer for him, whereas Rozier has one more year left on his deal.
Kevin, the only reason why I'm doing this interview is I'm going to ask you a question about my Celtics. So, yeah, that's really the only reason why I'm doing it. So here we go. Danny Ainge wants to tell us that we have this awesome trade exemption that is not used 75% of the time. So, Kevin, explain to me that the Celtics are actually going to use this, or are they just going to let it go away?
Well, I think they got a better chance of using it than most because it's just so large that you can do a lot of different things with it, whether it's a smaller player or a bigger contract that takes up most of that trade exception. And one player I think that makes a lot of sense to watch for the Celtics is Harrison Barnes from Sacramento. You know, the Kings are at some point going to have to face the reality that they're not even really contenders for the play-in the Western Conference. Barnes is 28. This is probably the right time to move him at the peak of his value if you could get multiple first-round picks, depending on what the protections on those might be. And from Boston's standpoint, you know, I think he's a nice fit. Slides in there at power forward, allows Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to play more of their natural spots without this shooting light front court that they've been playing lately with Tristan Thompson and Daniel Tice. And it'd be kind of a similar role to what we saw Harrison Barnes play with the death lineup back in Golden State. We know that he can be effective, complementing the kind of stars that the Celtics have.
That made too much sense, so that means Danny Ainge won't do it.
Nope, he's going to avoid it like the plague.
I want an NBA where all of Kevin Pelton's, and everything comes to life. That would be so much fun, right?
Yeah.
Everyone, go on ESPN.com. Kevin Pelton has a great piece out right now where he talks about the hiring of NBA coaches and how that affects the diversity we see on the sideline. So make sure you head to ESPN.com. Kevin Pelton, bring in the heat on Sports Nation. We appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks for having me back on.